Engine building is one of those steps that's usually an essential part of any project car build. Regardless whether you're taking the factory engine and doubling the horsepower, or you're simply freshening up a high mileage motor, the process of engine building remains much the same. It can be tricky though for many enthusiasts like yourself to know how to tackle this job and who to trust with your hard-earned cash. Do you enlist the local engine reconditioner who spends their time rebuilding low-power, garden variety road cars with no experience with your particular application? Or do you use a local performance workshop and hope for the best? While most enthusiasts think that building their own engines is beyond them, you may be surprised to find out that it's not that difficult, and provided you've got a little patience and an eye for detail, you can produce great results. Obviously, there's a lot of ground to cover when it comes to building engines, and this series of free lessons is designed to give you a better understanding of the process and what you need to consider. So let's get stuck in, and we'll start by talking about the parts you'll need for your next engine build. You could argue that this is the most important part of the whole puzzle, since it's not going to matter how carefully you've assembled your engine if the parts that you've chosen aren't up to the task. This is an area I regularly see people make expensive mistakes, but it can go one of two ways. While often people end up pushing factory components past their limits, resulting in expensive failures, I also see people spending money needlessly on engine components when it's been proven that the stock parts in their engine are well within their design limits at their desired power level. Let's take our FA20 as a perfect case study. In stock form, this engine is naturally aspirated and produces 200 horsepower at the flywheel with a very high 12.5:1 compression ratio. We purchased our Toyota 86 project car back in 2012 when they were new, and soon after this we turbocharged it. The engine now makes just under 400 horsepower at the rear wheels. It's approximately twice the factory horsepower, despite the entire engine still being standard inside. Now, there's also plenty of examples where people have taken junkyard LS long blocks that have been fitted with a basic turbo kit and then are able to push close to 1,000 horsepower with nothing more than a careful tune and some good quality fuel. While many engines have a lot of performance headroom built into them from the factory like this, that's obviously not always going to be the case, and the first step is to set your power aims and then to do some research and find out what your particular engine is capable of. The easiest place to start here is by spending some time on enthusiast forums that specialise in your particular car. You'll quickly be able to get an idea of what parts fail and what upgrades are needed at your particular target power level. While there's an almost unlimited range of upgraded parts that you may be able to choose from, I'm sure you have a budget to work to and you want to get the best results for your performance dollar. For most performance builds, the common parts that we'll be fitting are aftermarket pistons and connecting rods. Forged pistons are available off the shelf for most popular engines from a variety of manufacturers, and these can offer dramatically more strength than a stock cast piston. Aftermarket pistons are usually produced via the forging process, where the raw piece of aluminium is forced into the shape of a piston under high pressure and temperature. This results in a denser material with a grain structure that is much stronger than a casting. The specific material used for making forged pistons is also different to what you'll find in a stock cast piston, with the most common material being what's referred to as 2618. This is an alloy of aluminium which contains a very low silicon content. This results in a piston that is stronger and more malleable than a cast piston, which is ideal for putting up with the high cylinder pressure of a performance engine. However, the low silicon content also results in a piston that will expand more as it heats up compared to a stock casting. This is why we need to provide more clearance between the piston skirt and the cylinder wall when the block is machined, and this is also why some engines with forged pistons tend to rattle slightly when they're cold. Aftermarket pistons also give you the flexibility to change the compression ratio, which is particularly important if you're adding a turbo or supercharger to a factory naturally aspirated engine. The next component you'll probably want to consider is a set of forged connecting rods. These are one of the most stressed components in your engine, as they're responsible for transferring the force from the cylinder pressure acting on the top of the piston down into the crankshaft. As the piston moves from the exhaust stroke onto the intake stroke, the connecting rod is also responsible for slowing down the piston as it goes past top dead center and then accelerating it down the bore again. A failure here is usually going to destroy your entire engine block, the piston, and the crankshaft, so this isn't an area that you want to skimp and save on. Aftermarket conrods are usually manufactured from a 4340 high tensile chromoly steel forging, which offers superior strength to stock connecting rods. Beyond the material though, the actual design of the connecting rod beam and the fasteners used offer further advantages and even more strength. Moving on, one of the most common areas you'll see failures in a high boost turbocharged engine is with the head gasket sealing. As we make more power, the pressure in the combustion chamber increases, and this has the effect of trying to lift the head physically off the block. When this happens, the combustion pressure can escape past the head gasket and make its way out into the cooling system. One part of the solution here is to use a better quality head gasket that can do a better job of sealing the combustion pressure. MLS or multi-layer steel gaskets are the usual choice here. Upgrading to an MLS gasket is particularly important if you're dealing with an older engine that uses a factory composite style head gasket. As well as the head gasket, you may also need to consider the fasteners used to clamp the head to the block. The stock bolts are often not reusable and may not be able to provide the sort of clamping force that you'll need with a modern performance engine. It's common practice to replace the factory head bolts as well as the bolts used for the main bearing caps with aftermarket studs instead. These studs are stronger and do a better job of clamping, but they're also reusable, which is helpful when it comes time to freshen up your engine. Once you've got your new engine internals, it's time to head to the engine machinist. Engine machining is one of the most critical parts of the engine building process, since we're dealing with very small clearances and very tight tolerances. Getting the machining operations right can be the difference between an engine that produces great power and offers a long and healthy life, and one that performs poorly and uses oil. This is an area that unfortunately is a little out of our hands, since the equipment required for all of the typical machining operations can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even with access to all of the best equipment though, it takes years of training to know how to use this equipment in order to get the best possible results. Since you're going to need to deal with an engine machinist, it's helpful if you can speak their language and have an understanding of what operations you'll need done. Of course, this is going to depend on the engine you're dealing with and what condition it's in. We can still cover off some of the more common machining operations though. One of the most common of these operations that you'll need done is boring and honing of the engine block. This is done to clean up any wear in the existing bores and ensure that you've got a nice round bore that will provide the correct clearance for your pistons. The hone pattern also provides the correct surface finish to the cylinder walls, which will allow your new rings to bed in quickly and seal properly. To get the best ring seal, we want to be very sure that the bores are as close to perfectly round as possible, and while that might sound simple enough, we'll often find that when we torque the cylinder head down on the block, that the bores will distort slightly. For this reason, it's common to use the technique of torque plate honing on high performance engines. This is simply a plate that is bolted to the engine block during the honing process, which replicates the distortion that the head will cause. The idea is that this will give us a perfectly round bore when the engine is actually running with the head bolted down, which is of course what we want. The next operation you'll likely need is decking or surfacing of the block where the head seals. This operation removes a very small amount of material from the deck surface of the block to ensure that it's perfectly flat and smooth, which is essential for proper head gasket sealing. In most instances, only a few thousandths of an inch of material is removed, so this doesn't actually have a dramatic impact on the engine's dimensions. If the crankshaft is showing wear on the journals, then it may require that the journal surfaces be polished, or if the damage is bad enough, the journal may require grinding to an undersized specification, which will then also require the use of different bearings. While we're talking about the crankshaft, another operation that you'll rely on an engine machinist for is balancing. As you'll see in our next lesson, it's possible to balance the pistons and connecting rods in your home workshop. However, balancing the crankshaft, the flywheel, and the pulley assembly requires a special balancing machine. As we discussed already, it's common when building a performance engine to replace the factory bolts for the main bearing caps with aftermarket studs for increased clamping. Particularly if you're dealing with an alloy block, this additional clamping may actually distort the main bearing tunnel, which in turn will impact on your bearing clearances. Fortunately, this can be corrected with an operation known as line honing. Line honing is used to remove material from the bearing tunnel in order to ensure that the finished journal is perfectly round and at the correct size. This operation will also be needed if you're replacing a factory cast bearing cap with an aftermarket billet cap, which is common in some engines. Now, obviously this doesn't cover every potential machining operation that you may require, however it should give you an understanding of some of the more common tasks.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson.